Hello, welcome back. We're going to be moving on with our look through Savate. I know it's strange, we've started looking at Savate and everything we've talked about so far has been hand strikes rather than feet. But what I'm doing is just starting with the hand stuff because for those of you who are more familiar with boxing, it's something that people feel more comfortable with, so that's where I wanted to start. Once we've been through this, and literally there's only a couple more weeks I'm going to spend talking about the hand techniques, we're going to move on and start looking at some of the kicks. But I wanted to make sure we had some of these groundings in to start with. So we've already looked at the moussettes, which is the straight hand technique, where I'm coming in from here and I'm delivering an open palm upward strike, the mousset there. And last time we looked at BAF, where I'm stepping forward and getting this big slap into the ear here. So we've kind of looked, if you think about it, there are only 6 directions that I can deliver force. I can deliver force into my opponent. Technically, I can deliver force away from my opponent. We'll come to that next week. I can deliver force across my opponent, and then I can deliver force down into my opponent and up into my opponent. So we've already looked at through with the mousset. We've looked at sideways with the BAF, and today we're going to look at this downward pressure with a technique called le tranche. So the idea of the tranche is that I want to be driving downwards into my opponent. Because of the nature of our body, it doesn't tend to be a straight downwards attack here. It tends to be more of a sideways attack that comes into the side of the neck, the top of the shoulder, into that kind of region there. So the way this technique is delivered, there's the open hand technique, which randomly I'm going to hit with my forearm and not my hand at all. So what I'm going to do is from here, I'm going to step through and basically, as if I was almost doing, my brain always goes back to the Austin Powers movie with judo chop, but I want to deliver a chop in with this part of my arm, the forearm here, with the drop step into my opponent's neck here, with the idea of driving that force down and away from me. So quite a lot of force coming in. Boom, here. If I want to do that as a closed hand technique, if I'm more familiar with those kind of boxing techniques, this becomes a hammer fist. So I'm going to hit with this bottom part of my hand into the side of the neck here. And again, as with all kind of things, Savate, if I was holding a knife in a kind of ice pick grip, so it was coming out here, boom, that is a cut straight into the neck, carotid artery, trying to do lots of nasty damage there. Even going back to some of the kind of Sykes and Fairbairn stuff where you want to get the knife in and then jiggle it around a bit just to mess up all of the arteries in there. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these hammer hand strikes in if I want to use le tranche as a hammer fist with a closed fist rather than open. So when am I going to use this? Well, for example, if my opponent's guard is up and they come in with a lead hit coming in here, if I take that in our normal block that's going to take things up and away from me here, my hand is now primed that if I step forward and turn it over, I can deliver that hammer fist straight into my opponent's face. Yeah? Or I can extend that further depending on the angle. If my opponent is not giving me his shoulders a little lower, depending on how he's throwing the hit. Again, slight height difference. As you may have noticed, Michael is a considerably taller man than I am. If I get my block here, I can step in and deliver that strike across the neck here. And it's very clear that once I'm here, it's very easy to wrap my hand around the back of the neck and start looking to pull into kind of clinches, if we're going to kind of look at that stuff later on. Other options that I can use this for, I can use it as a follow-up attack as well. So if I was going to throw out my attack here and wait for that to be parried, I assume you're happy to block that. From there, you can see I've now got a nice open side, so I could step in and hammer fist over the top. Or if he's pushed this way, I can pull that back and hammer fist into his elbow. And then again, I'm looking to move into grappling and bringing my knee into play. So there's lots of ways that I can use this le tranche technique to drive in. Once we start looking at kicks, this becomes even better because I can do things like I can deliver a kick into the knee to bring him down and off balance and then exploit that imbalance by ramming into him with this technique. There's a few other nasty little adjustments I can make to this. Sorry if I excuse you as a target again. If I come in with my attack for the neck here, it may be that I can't reach that, so it becomes a default. If I get here and I don't think I've got the range to make this a successful attack, my elbow then becomes the weapon, and I'm going to drive that forward into the solar plexus. So it's almost an aborted Tranch, but it's worth looking at. If I come in here, don't think I've got it, boom, that's certainly going to give me a moment to then get offline and deliver something on a different angle. So that's the Tranch, very much that downward striking energy. So next week I'm going to cover two. I'm going to cover what we do about an upwards range of attack, but also this kind of pulling, retracting back towards me force. We are going to use that in an attack as well. So we're going to cover those next time. We're going to be looking at an uppercut or a version of an uppercut, and we're looking at a technique called a pique. So we'll pick those up next week, and then that will finish off everything. We're looking at the hands, and then we're going to move on to what most people think of the core of Savate. We're going to be looking at kicking each other. So, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you again next week. Thank you very much.